Hi and welcome back. Without further ado, let's get to building our virtual piano. Let's create a folder called Piano. Then open this folder in Visual Studio Code. Or you can use any other text editor that you prefer. Now we're going to create the basic structure of the project. Let's create the index.html file, then the CSS folder, the JS folder, and of course, we need to create a folder called Sounds where we're going to store the sounds of the music notes. After that, we create the style.css file inside of the CSS folder and the script.js file inside of the JS folder. Since I use the Emmet plugin, I will create the basic structure of the web page really quickly. Just type in the exclamation mark and hit enter. And there. Now change the title to Piano. Let's connect the style.css file. Since our file is stored in the CSS folder, I set css/style.css. Let's also add the script.js file. Before the closing body tag, we add script src equals to js/script.js. Now let's create a div with a class called Piano. Well, our piano is basically composed of two parts. The first part is the upper part in black. The second part is a piano keyboard. That's why we create two divs. The first div with a class name Piano Body, and the second div with a class called Piano Keyboard. As you can see, the upper part is composed of three parts: the piano speaker, the piano interface, and another piano speaker. That's why we're going to create three divs inside of this div. The first div with a class called Piano Speaker, then another div with a class called Piano Interface, and again the div with the class called Piano Speaker. We're going to create piano speakers by using gradient. That's why these divs are empty. For the piano interface, we need to create this heading, then several radio buttons, and so on. Let's also divide the piano interface into two parts. This upper part is going to be stored in the div with the class name Piano Controls. And this part is going to be stored in another div with a class called Piano Autoplay. So we create these two divs inside of the piano interface. So Piano Controls and Piano Autoplay. Piano controls consist of the heading and three radio buttons. Let's use, for instance, the H4 tag for the heading. Then we create an input tag and set the radio value for the type attribute. Let's give the input the class Piano Control option. To make it so that we can only select one radio button at a time, we add the attribute called name. Let's set control as the value. After that, we add the value attribute. We have three inputs with the text letter notes, keyboard, and none. So we set letter notes for the first input. Then we create two other inputs. For the second input, we change the value to keyboard. And for the third input, we change the value to the text none. Also, we need to add labels. To do this, we're going to wrap each input tag with the label tag. Now we need to specify the text of each label, which are letter nodes, keyboard, and none. Okay, we're going to create a div with the class name Piano Autoplay. The div must have this heading, this drop-down list where we can select a song, then the label with another drop-down list, and the play button. So we add the h4 tag with the text autoplay. Let's add the class to this heading. For example, piano heading. Let's also add this class to the previous h4 heading so that we can easily stylize headings with the help of CSS. To create the first drop-down list, we need the select tag with the class called piano song list. We don't need these attributes, that's why we delete them. What we need is to create the option tag for each song. For the first song, let's set the number 1. As you can see, the first song is Jingle Bells. So we type in Jingle Bells. The second song is Happy Birthday. So we create the second option tag and type in Happy Birthday. Then we see the label with the text tempo and another drop-down list with 3 options: slow, normal, and fast. First we create the label with the text tempo. And then we create another select tag Now let's create the 3 option tags with the text slow, normal, and fast. Finally, we need to create the play button. Let's add the class name PianoPlayBTN to the button. And of course, the text play. As you can see, the piano keyboard is composed of white and black keys. In fact, all the piano keys will be generated with the help of JavaScript. So in HTML, we just need to create several piano keys so that we can stylize them in the CSS file. Later on, we will move the HTML code for the piano keys to the JavaScript file. And in HTML, we will just remove it. Since we can click on each piano key, every key is just a button, right? That's why we create a button with a class called pianoKey. For the white keys, let's use the class called pianoKeyWhite. Well, the option Letter Nodes is selected. That's why on the white keys we see the text C1, D1, E1, and so on. The letter represents the musical note and the number is the octave. For instance, this key is for the musical note C of the first octave. So let's set C1 as the text of the white key. Let's create another button with the text D1. As you can see, there is a black key between the 2 white keys. The black key has the text C#1. So we create another button and set the text for the black key. Don't forget to change the class name to pianoKeyBlack. Create the 4th button for the black key with the text D#1. After that, we create 2 other white keys with the text E and F. This HTML code is enough so that we can stylize the piano keys. As I've already mentioned, later on we're going to create the piano keys with the help of JavaScript. Alright, that's all I wanted to tell you in this lesson, so see you in the next one.